The chilling truth behind comforting sounds. A dark October revelation. I'm Tabitha, and ever since I can remember, the crisp sound of stepping on dried leaves has brought me an inexplicable sense of comfort. On this particular day, as I made my way home, dodging the puddles and the increasingly persistent rain, I was on a mission to find the perfect leaf to step on. A small joy after a tough day of dealing with bullies at school, avoiding the cracks on the sidewalk, thanks to a superstition instilled by my older brother Tommy. I hoped for that satisfying crunch, but the rain seemed to have ruined all potential candidates. I was almost home, feeling the chill of October deep in my bones and the slight weight of disappointment. I'd had a rough day, and Tommy, usually my ally, was homesick, unable to distract me from my troubles. As I reached my house, the rain turned from a drizzle to a downpour. My hair was getting soaked, so I pulled my backpack over my head in a vain attempt to stay dry. In my hurry, I stepped right over a thin, winding crack, breaking my own rule. I fumbled for my house key, feeling the cool metal oddly soothing against my fingertips. But when I tried the door, it didn't open as it should have. Something was off. The house was too quiet, the kind of silence that feels like a heavy blanket, muffling everything under it. The door creaked open to darkness. The air inside was cool and still against my damp skin, and I shivered, not just from the cold. With a sense of dread tightening in my chest, I made my way to the kitchen. There, in the dim light, my mother sat at the table, staring intently into a cracked handheld mirror. Her movements were jerky, unnatural. As I stepped closer, the floorboard under my foot creaked loudly, and she turned to me with a jarring, wide smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hi, honey," she greeted me, her voice barely a whisper, her expression unsettling. Something wasn't right. She then told me Tommy was sick and asked me to check on him. Her eyes didn't follow me as they normally would, instead fixating on something over my shoulder. Reluctantly, I headed towards Tommy's room, each step heavier than the last. The hallway felt longer and darker than ever before, and a cold fear gripped me. I thought I saw shadows moving just out of the corner of my eye. Tommy's door was slightly ajar, which was unusual. He valued his privacy fiercely these days. Pushing the door open, the scene before me was something out of a nightmare. Tommy lay on his bed, his body a map of horrors, tied down and marked by cuts. The sight of him, conscious and yet so terribly altered, made my stomach churn. His eyes met mine, and the despair in them was almost too much to bear. Then, out of nowhere, my mother appeared behind me, her reflection in a cracked piece of mirror showing a twisted version of her once comforting smile. In that moment, the surreal became my reality. My brother's silent plea, the menacing presence of my mother, and the eerie silence of the house all crashed down on me. But amidst that chaos, as my mother moved closer, a leaf, perfectly dried and shaped, lay in my path. I stepped on it, and the crisp, loud crunch was oddly satisfying, a fleeting reminder of simpler times just before everything went dark. So why do some sounds bring us comfort, even in the darkest moments? For me, it was the crunch of a leaf, a sound that, for a brief moment, made me forget the nightmare around me.